Hi there, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to update everyone on the progress of the Limba, the black Limba Stratocaster that builder Toby Russell built the body for me, and he helped me assemble the entire guitar actually, did all the drilling and routing and built the body, and then I put the rest of the guitar together using a Fender neck, which was roasted maple with a Pa Faro fretboard. Anyway, there's a series of videos on the guitar, and the last video I made, I don't remember where I left off, but it always seems to take me a while. I've done 2 builds now, and both times it takes a couple of months for me to finally get the guitar like really playable. Like now I could actually record a song for this record with it, and if I was able to play a show, you know, if things were different with everything that's going on, I would be able to finally play out with the guitar because it's holding tune. The main problem, it wasn't really a problem, but for whatever weird reason in my mind, I couldn't figure out how to get it, why it wouldn't go into tune. So basically, like when you, I don't know if it's in tune right now, but basically when you play a D chord, yeah, now it's in tune with itself. It sounds good. I don't know if it's perfectly in tune. We're going to check on the zoom, but it's in tune with itself, which I was having trouble doing. I would play a D chord specifically. I guess I just always grab for a D when I'm testing out, you know, the guitar. And every time I would do that, I was getting a out of tune sound, and it was like the G was always out of tune. And every time I've set up a couple of Strats, mainly Squires, 3 Squires before this one. They were all Strats, and they all had a vintage style trim. It's a little different because the Squire just does its own thing, but it was a vintage style, meaning that, you know, it had these vintage bridge saddles, and it had the 6 screws up front. Well, there's a lot going on here. Like for starters, you've got these screws here, right? And you can kind of adjust those how high you want to use them, because the higher they are, it sort of makes the trim a little bit easier to use and a little more flexible. You're able to get more lift both ways on it. The other aspect of it is the claw in the back. So you have these 2 screws, right, that go deep up inside the Strat, that pull this claw up and keep this bridge, you know, in place and allow the bridge to sort of rock back and forth. You've got this space in the route so that when you press on the bar, this trim moves back and forth, you know, and it has this space to do it. And I knew that, and I've dealt with it before. Like on one of my guitars, the screws are kind of pulled with the red one. The guitar, the screws are kind of way pulled down. That's where it's sort of the sweet spot was for that one. This one, like I said, I had them kind of down a bit, but I, for whatever reason, wasn't staying in tune, wasn't like getting it in tune. And so that was disturbing. And I had tried kind of everything else. I checked my nut. I went through with my file, made sure the nut was good. My tuners are good. And I was worried that perhaps because I only did the one string tree, like the 50 style, because this is sort of kind of a hybrid 50s Strat with some modern things. Like it has a 12-inch radius neck, but it has a 50s kind of body, a 50s pick guard with Alnico 5 pickups, so that's a little different. It has an original vintage kind of trim, so that makes it old. But then the neck, even though it looks kind of like an older style neck, it's actually got the 12-inch radius and the larger frets. But anyway, I adjusted the neck, gotten the neck where I wanted. I felt like the nut was good. You know, I could have replaced it, but I didn't because it sounded good to me. And it seems like it's fine. You can always put a better nut on there, and I probably will eventually, but for now I just wanted to get the guitar playing, and I thought it had a nice ping to it. It sounds alive instead of sounding plasticky, even though it probably is plastic. So I didn't know what was going on, right? I've tried loosening these screws, I've tried messing around with the intonation, tried lifting up the height, lowering the height, trying to figure out what was going on, because sometimes if you don't have the correct break angles, which I think this is what this is about, was a break angle issue, you won't get in tune. You know, these guitars, it's physics, and you know, there's things going on that have to be, you know, things have to be stretched to a certain point in order to get the right amount of tension. So something was a little off, and I thought, oh, you know, I haven't messed around with those screws in a minute. So I flipped the guitar over, and I decided to go up higher. Also, the trim was a little stiff, you know, I noticed that. And I had a chance to play another guitar. I was playing Mark, our guitar player's Charvel. He has a really cool Charvel, and it has an original Floyd on it. So when I'm not sure if it has original Floyd on it, but it has a Floyd Rose on it. And I was messing around with that, and it was so loose and fun. You know, you could just all the way and make these crazy sounds. So I was like, wow, my trim is way too stiff. So that made me go, let's mess around with these screws. So I went up in here, and I went that way with them so that I would get more play going down, you know. So it's kind of a balancing act. But I went pretty far up in there, and now it's holding tune. So real quick, I don't know if you know how to do this, but let's go to the Zoom, and we'll use the Zoom's tuner, and we'll just go through that really quickly. So I'm going to take the cable. I've got my Northeast, this nice green cable, and I can't say enough about these cables. They're so awesome. I should do some kind of review or something, because they're really the best cables I've ever used, hands down. Northeast cables. So anyway, I've got it plugged in. I'm going into input 1. Now, I put the high Z switch on only because if I was using it to play guitar into it, I would. But if I think it will still tune the guitar without the high Z on. But high Z gets the gain right whenever you're attaching connecting an instrument to the Zoom like a guitar. Gets the unity gain correct, I'm assuming. Okay, and then next thing we're going to do is you're going to go up here to this top panel where it says Tool. Punch Tool, and you'll see Metronome, Tuner, System, SD card. We're going to go down to Tuner, and you use the little wheel looking thing with the directional arrows, and in the middle it says Enter, and when you get it on Tuner you hit Enter, and there you see a chromatic tuner. I always tune on the up, and this guitar is actually adjusting right now because it's so cold in here, or at least cold for those of us down south. Feels cold, but I wouldn't say that it was cold to people from the Midwest or the North. Or even in parts of California, because it gets cold in a different way depending on where you're located. So now I'm just going through each string. They're all sharp, probably because the guitar is still adjusting to temperature. But like I said, I always tune up, so I tune the string down and then tune up as opposed to tuning it up and then getting it in tune by dropping it back down. I go way down and then back up again and end on the up. So there's the down. Now we work our way back up the ladder till we get it in tune on the E. Okay, that's relatively in tune. Those of you who have very sensitive ears will probably be able to tell exactly which note is out of tune. But it's in tune enough to play a rock show, right? So that means it works. It also set up the action really nice, because I like to play with high action, but it knocked it down into a real reasonable range. And also you can see that this isn't jumped way up. I've had trims where I'm doing this floating trim thing, and this will pop up way up high, and it just, it's wrong. It just looks weird and wrong. But now it's up, but not too high. It looks normal. I don't know if you can see it from way back there. I don't want to get too close to the camera because it messes up the autofocus on the lens. But it just looks right now. Like, this is good. This is really good. And it's now playing like a dream. I'm still adjusting pickup height. That's the other thing I've been doing. I don't use pedals. I go straight into the 18 watt. So I have to be really careful about what I do. Like, I usually lift the pickups way up, and I was picturing these being like low output, but these Alnico 5s roar. And I've also rolled the tone down almost to nothing, because when I had the pickups really high, like I usually set it up, it was too trebly. And I like a lot of treble, This is one of the reasons why I love this guitar. It's got treble on tap, I've got all the treble I need. I can actually roll it down, which is awesome, because whenever you need it, it's awesome to have it. And I've also found that when you're recording and it sounds too trebly here, it won't on the recording. I like a little more treble than what my ears hear. Like I hear more treble, I lose some of it on the recording, so I like to hear a little more treble here. So that when it's there, I get more high-end at the finished product, and it sounds more like what I want the amp to sound like live, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've messed around with the pickup height. I actually brought it down a bit because it was just sounding so kind of nasty. I might take it down just a little bit more there, like that. Just a little bit more. Actually, let me put this screwdriver in here so I don't leave it and forget it. Okay, so now, I've got the guitar in tune. I'm going to plug it into channel number 1 on the 18 watt, which is the big nasty channel. And we're all turned up here. Come out of standby, and then you hear the tube brush. Okay, and then let's see what it sounds like through an amp, and also show you what it sounds like with the Trem bar. Right there on the pickup height. When I first started it up, it sounded a little woolly, so I just brought it right back up to where it was, and that seems to be the sweet spot. I should measure it, but it's like, you know, it's not that high anymore. It's like midway. I think that's the right balance. I'm getting enough low end, mid range, high end, like trebly sound without getting too bright or woolly. And this is the most high glossy kind of channel. When I bring it up here, it gets a lot smoother sounding. That's in the middle. I'll go to the next one up. Up here with the neck pickup. Okay, now I'll show you what the Trem bar can do now. It's a lot more usable. Holding tune. See, that's the whole deal. Being able to hold tune, being able to step on this thing. I'm not saying it's in tune. I bet if I put it on a tuner, especially with this cold air, it'd be out of tune string to string, but it's in tune with itself enough to get through a show, right? Or get through a song until you can tune again. This guitar was built by Toby Russell. I assembled it and dialed it in, but he did all this beautiful work, and look at this beautiful piece of wood. And not to mention, Toby's got some really cool stuff. He sent me a text with some new guitar that he's working on that looks incredible. And so I'm really excited to see what he does next, and I'm already thinking about things that I want him to build for me. So I encourage everyone out there who's looking for a guy who can build really killer bodies. I mean, I'm talking like really, really good stuff. To me, this is the best thing I've ever had my hands on. I mean, it's unbelievable. So I really want to spread the word about Toby, because he's a great person and an incredible guitar builder. You know, I'm really, really pleased with what I have. I can go out and rock this thing like for serious. Okay, so thanks again, and I'll see you next time.